One. Everybody, welcome to another episode of ArmTalk. I'm your host, Jody Williams, and today, my guest, the legendary multi-time provincial champion, multi-time Canadian champion, multi-time WAF World champion, and Canadian Hall of Fame. Welcome, Lori Powell, to the show. How you doing today?
I'm doing great. How are you today, Jody?
I'm doing good. And before we got live, I want to talk to you because I'm really behind getting ladies arm wrestling out there. And I've had Sarah Wilson on before.
I've seen that one.
Did you see when I had Jocelyn Brisson on too?
No, I didn't. No,
Okay.
I just seen the one that you had Sarah Wilson on just recently. So
I'm really trying to get the ladies, because now we have a lot of influx in arm wrestling, and there was a lot of ladies interested. So I'll love to get them on there. However, what I'm trying to do is talk to the legends of the sport, the ones that paved the way for the current lady arm wrestlers now. And guys, feel free to jump in and ask questions also. So tell me something. You've done it all in arm wrestling to the
in
point
a very short period of time.
Yes. So explain, when did you get into the sport and how was arm wrestling for you?
Well, unfortunately for me, I started really late. I had no idea what arm wrestling was or never heard of it before until I was about 40 years old when I first found out about it and first started competing. So unfortunately, I wasn't one of the lucky ones who started as a youth or, in your 18, 19, 20s, which would have been awesome. But I was a late bloomer. I started late when I was about 40 years old. I just happened to, I got a divorce and started working a second job. And the people that I was working with got me into arm wrestling. I just kind of went and started watching the tournaments and stuff. And then one day they just threw me into a tournament and I got second place. So there was no turning back after that. I started training, started competing, started going places. And yeah, it's been a real whirlwind in the 20 years that I was competing.
Nice. And you're from Manitoba, correct?
Correct. Yep.
So explain, how was the training then for you? Like, was there a club that you're involved with, or did you train individually? How'd that work out for you?
Well, basically, we trained one day a week. It was a Saturday. We went over to Mike Barrett's. There was a group of about 4 or 5 of us that went every Saturday. He had some circuit stations set up for us. And we did that for about an hour and a half every Saturday, and then about an hour or so of table time after. So, and then other than that, we went once a week to practice with the group. Mm-hmm. Like we had a club in Winnipeg at the time, and did that once a week. And then the rest of it was just basically on your own, doing your own thing.
Nice. And I have to ask this question because everyone's different. What do you think is more important, table time or weights?
Okay. Hello, you still there?
I'm here.
Okay, good.
What do you prefer, table time or weights in the gym?
Well, both are important. You need to train and work out, and table time's important too. Like, we never had a lot of women in the sport, so my table time is with the guys always, which was good for me. So,
well, one of the things, because a lot of lady pullers, because there's not a lot, and so when they do practice, like yourself and a handful of others, they train with the guys. Have to ask you, because I asked Sarah Wilson this too. So when you're pulling with guys at practice, and you have to deal with the hand size. And now, come tournament time, you grip up with somebody with the same size hand as you. Now, all of a sudden, does that confidence really kick in?
For me, I've always been on the plus side of the scale. So big hands. I mean, my arms are big.
Right.
I was lucky that way. So when I did come across a match with a woman or whatever, I didn't find it really all that hard at all. So
Right.
I wasn't a very technical puller at all because I didn't really have to be that technical because I just basically just powered through the women and didn't use a whole lot of technique. But I'm sure now that's changed. Like you do need to have the technique. And the only time I really came across having to use a technical match was against Sarah Wilson. She's the one who kind of started it off for me because she's the same kind of puller as me. She's just a bull puller and she just powers through everybody. And I've never come across that before. So I had to learn how to deal with that.
And that's good to know because, you know, you can get by so much with just technique until somebody's stronger than you.
Yeah.
You can get by with power until somebody's more technical than you.
Exactly.
Then it's like, okay, back to the drawing board. I got to figure this thing out. So
That's
that way,
right.
you know, so who are your biggest rivals in the sport?
Well, I don't really have any real rivals in the sport, but as far as I'm concerned, anyone who's standing across the table from you is your rival at that time. For
Right.
the few seconds that it takes to do a match, they're your rival. So,
Gotcha.
yeah.
Was there ever a time you got on a table in a tournament format and you competed against Joyce King?
I've never competed against Joyce King.
What? Really?
She's never been in my weight class. She's in a lower weight class than me.
Right.
And even after pulling, you know, after a tournament or you know, Canadian Nationals, I've never had the opportunity to pull against her. One time that I did, and she was injured and couldn't do it. So I missed out on that opportunity with Joyce King.
That would have been nice to see, you know. That would have been awesome to see. Now,
yeah.
Do you still keep up with the sport now?
Not so much training or whatever, but I do help out, you know, with tournaments. We're not living in Winnipeg anymore, so we're not around as much. We've moved to Brandon over the last couple of years, but they do have a club here. And I did go, you know, to help. There's not a whole lot of women. There's a couple that comes around, but then I got my tendonitis back again and I kind of stepped away from it again. So
right.
I get tendonitis in my right elbow all the time. So, but that's from pulling the guys. That's, you get in there and you're on the table and you're pulling the guys and that's what happens. So,
well, shame on those guys for hurting the legend. What's wrong with them? So tell me about your experience at the Canadian Nationals. Was it easy for you?
Yes. Yeah. I didn't find that there was a whole lot of competition for me. I won 24 Canadian National Championships. And yeah, there wasn't a lot of competition at that time. So yeah, there was, you know, maybe 5 women in a class or whatever for my class anyways.
Right.
So I would say probably the toughest one I came across was Josie Morneau. We've always been kind of neck and neck. So she was always my toughest rival.
Nice.
I would say. And she's the one who actually got me into the sport too. So.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
She's a sweetheart, by the way. Yeah.
Yeah. She got me into it. I was working my second job with her. I was renting a room from her at one point in time, and we just started training. I was helping her train. And then I just thought, well, instead of sitting here watching all the time, I might as well be competing. So I just started competing. Yeah. She used to beat me for the first couple of years, and then after that, I kind of caught up to her. So I was always second place behind Josie for a couple of years, But
see, that's the thing. That's what helps everybody grow and make each other better. Because the saying goes, you only get better when you pull somebody stronger than you. So those early years with Jose, and she was beating you, and then you kind of went, okay, lights on, here we go. And now all of a sudden the tables are turned, and now you become dominant. And then the both of you are a dominant force when it came to the Nationals, right?
Yeah. Yeah, but then
Nice.
once again, too, she's in a lower weight class than me, too. So she's just in the class below me. So I kind
Good.
of didn't get a chance to compete too much against her after that. But I always thought, because she arm wrestled for, whoops, so many years before I even knew about it or started or anything.
Yeah.
And I was always second place behind her, and I kept saying, like, there's no way I'm ever going to beat her. There's no way I'll always be second. There's no way I'll ever beat her. So, like, if the women are out there and they're listening, don't ever give up, because your time will come. Just take some practice and some patience, and you'll get there.
And I'm glad you brought that up, because I think some people need to realize, ladies and men, that this is not an overnight thing. There's only very few people that can come into sport, take the sport by storm, and go, lightning in a rocket. But the thing is, though, is that it takes time, it takes patience. And I think hearing that from you makes a point, because it is a sport. It's a marathon, not a race. Do you agree?
You betcha. Yeah, slow and steady wins the race. And I find too, like a lot of people who come out and start up, like it takes so long to get your tendons and ligaments all stretched out. Like I can lift weights till the cows come home over my head and everything else.
Mm-hmm.
And when it comes to arm wrestling, that's when your tendons and your ligaments, they're sore. You get tendonitis. Like it's a whole different ball game. So it takes a long time to get those stretched out, probably about a good year and a half, and
Yes.
it's painful, and you just have to endure it, and it eventually goes away.
Right. But
But a lot of people will say, like, after 3 or 4 months, like, I'm not doing this anymore. Like, why would I put myself through that? But
right.
yeah, and sometimes they just leave and don't come back. So
And I've always tried to tell the new guys that would come to our team, if they can weather the storm, meaning that if
yeah,
you can get through that pain period and
yeah,
you still come, then you got it. But it's a pain that, if you practice on a Saturday and you wake up on a Sunday morning, you're like, man, I'm pretty sore. But for some reason, for me, I don't know about you, but for me, come Monday when I have to go back to work, it's like, oh, wow, what's going on now?
yeah.
And we've all been through that before, but it's just part of the sport, so.
Yeah. Especially when you go to work on a Monday morning and you try and lift your hands up to the keyboard and it's like, ow,
Yes.
that hurts.
Ibuprofen's your best friend and all that
Yeah.
kind of stuff. So now we transition to the World Championships. Now you got 24 Canadian nationals. So how many WAF World Championships did you have in your short span of arm wrestling?
Well, I've got in the 4 world arm wrestling tournaments that I attended, I've got 7 gold medals, a silver, and a bronze.
Now, was that easier than nationals, or was it different?
It's a lot different. It's a whole different world when you get to the world level. So it's an
Okay.
experience.
We're all ears. We're listening.
Yeah.
Tell us the difference. And, and I've been to a world before, but not the world like it was then. So explain to everybody in the chat, how was it? Now you're going against different countries. It's a different kind of pressure. And I think you won a gold in your own home country too. So explain to everybody how that's different and what to expect.
Well, it's a lot different because you've got like 1,600 competitors, 67 countries that you're dealing with. You're all in a big room in a group. There's a lot going on. They have multiple tables up at one time. They don't call you by name, so you're a number.
Oh, wow.
So they'll say like MB 2873, you're next. Like you really have to pay attention, and you have to watch everything. You have to pay attention and listen to everything and make sure you don't miss your opportunity to get up to the table and just as an example, this lady here, she's from Egypt.
Yes.
She was 420 pounds. I'm tall. I'm 5'10". I went up to her armpit. She was 420 pounds and at least 7 something.
Wow.
And I had to stand across the table from her, and I'll tell you, that was I was scared.
And what country was she from again?
She was from Egypt.
Woo! What are they doing over there?
What are they doing over there?
Yeah, I mean, how do the ladies get that tall, that frame, you know?
Yeah. She was pretty tall, and she was about the tallest one I came across, but definitely not the strongest. So, like, there's a lot of strong women out there across the world, and yeah, it's a whole different ball game.
Now, tell me something. Winning a world title is great. Winning a world title on your own home country, you're the home team, is even better. Can you let everybody know the difference between the two?
Well, Kelowna was my first world championships. So for me, it was like a learning curve. It was hard for me.
2003?
It was 2003 or 2004, something like that. But yeah, because it was a whole new experience for me, and you're really nervous, you're really scared, but obviously you're really proud when you get up to the podium and you've got your gold medals, and your family's there to see you and cheer you on. And yeah, and my dad, he pretty much traveled with us wherever we went. So he came to Italy with us, and Vegas. He was unable to make it to Brazil at that time because he was very sick. So, but yeah, he came with us everywhere we went, and he was really proud. And my sister was always a number one supporter, and my mom,
right,
when she was able to travel. But so yeah, it's very humbling.
Scott from Arm Sports corrected me. So 2003 was Ottawa, and 2008 was how you pronounce it again?
Kelowna.
That was 2008. So
yeah, that was my first Worlds.
Gotcha.
Yeah, the Ottawa one was a national championship. So
gotcha. So what other countries did you win your world titles in?
Canada was my first, and then we went to Rosalina de Mar in Italy. That was my second. And then we went to Mesquite, which is just outside of Las Vegas.
Yep.
That was my third one. And the fourth one was Brazil, Sao Paulo.
Yeah.
Brazil. And that was in 2012. And that was the last time I competed.
So when you do that and you get to travel these different countries, and for me, being in the sport 14 years, it's given me the opportunity to travel.
Yeah.
I've been to 14 different states in a bunch of cities within those states, and I've competed twice outside the United States. Once in Manchester, England. The other one was last year in Manitoba, by the way, Steinbach.
Yes.
So.
Yes, and it was very nice to meet you then too.
Yes, it was you know what? And
although I'll have to admit I was a little shy.
You know what? Here, and if I came across like a fanboy, let me apologize. There's not too many times you meet a legend, you kind of go, I want to talk to you more, but it was like going, okay, I kind of got the vibe that, yeah, how you doing? Yeah, I didn't want to bother you. I didn't want to sit there and just, let's talk. I didn't want to be that guy, so I kind of gave you a space, but it was awesome to meet you. What we're doing now, I kind of want to just sit there and just shoot the bridge with you then, but again, there was a lot going on and stuff. So, but still, it was awesome to meet you in person and stuff. And now we get this time after all these months that goes by, we can just sit there and we can just talk and chat and shoot the breeze and things like that. So, but yeah, as Scott says, 14 years, you're just a baby. Yeah, I know. I mean, compared to a lot of people, 14 years is nothing. But for other people, hey, heck, when I got into the sport, we dealt with Velcro straps. So
yeah,
that's how old I am. But one of the things I always admire about the Canadian Nationals, and I want to get your thoughts on that. when y'all get together and you got the different provinces representing their, province, but the team uniform, the team unity, that I've never seen before anywhere else. I mean, even us in the States don't have that. I mean, you can have your own team club, but you guys got what color Alberta is, what color Quebec is, or Saskatchewan. The list goes on and on. If I see black and gold, oh, there's Manitoba. You kind of know, what that is. And so I'm just in awe of that. So do you remember who came up with that scheme or what?
Well, I think it was my husband, Daryl, that started it all off with Team Manitoba. But who was it?
It was, Miles, actually.
Miles Wilco?
Yeah, way back.
Okay, way back when, yeah.
But then there was Terry Bates, and then there was Ryan.
Yeah, I'm just thinking back to Terry Bates, Ryan Espy, people who were all in it before us, but I don't really know too much about what happened before we started. But Daryl was always in charge of getting our team shirts and Team Manitoba shirts and tournament shirts. He did a shirt for every tournament just about, and we sold them as a fundraiser for MAWA.
Right.
But yeah, I've always known it to have team shirts. So you're gonna have to get that started over there, Jody.
Yeah, it's just cool because anybody, and I mean anybody, can watch a video. And Scott's no longer doing it because this year was his last national he's going to do. But anybody can watch a national, and you can tell, okay, who's up? Oh, BC's up. All right, cool. Ontario, fine, let's go. Oh, New Brunswick, and it's you see that, you kind of know. And it's okay, now I'm excited. You know what I mean? I mean, if that makes sense. So
yeah.
We do have a question from Clifton Erickson. He says, Lori, do you remember whooping my butt left-handed at a wing place?
Yes.
So what was that about?
Well, I think we were down at, were we down in the States at the time? Anyways, we ended up going to a tournament where there wasn't any women competing. So they asked the men if it would be okay if we competed in the men's classes. And I guess at the time they said, yeah, that was fine. And we competed with them, but they don't like it when you beat them. So I wouldn't recommend doing that. It's all fun and games until you start beating the guys at the table, and then they don't really like that too much. So
yeah, then they get personal. It's a dent to their ego and things like that. So
yeah, maybe for fun, after pulling or whatever, it'll be okay, but not in a real tournament situation.
Yeah. So now your arm wrestling career is done, and then you transition into a front office position, so to speak. Could you tell everybody what was that about?
Well, basically what I did was I just helped out with tournaments. I usually did the weigh-ins and registration table all the time, sold 50-50 tickets, helped train girls for tournaments and stuff, and even newbies who would register at a tournament, and someone that you have never arm wrestled before or whatever, I'll go up to them and say, have you ever competed before? And they'll say no. Well, let me show you how to do it safely.
Yes.
Do this, wherever your hand goes, your nose goes. Don't ever look away from your hand, and try and teach them to do it safely. So
yes.
Yeah.
When I got into the
you don't want people getting hurt. You know what's going to happen if they're, like I said, it takes a long time to get those tendons and ligaments and your muscles and your bones trained for that kind of torque and stuff, which is not a normal day-to-day, everyday thing. You just don't want anyone to get hurt. So
right. Well, I'll tell you
show
what.
them how to do it safely, and hopefully they listen to you.
Well, yes. And here's one of the things I've noticed, like when you have a new arm wrestler who joins the sport and, you know, they see a lot of stuff on YouTube and social media and they think, oh, that's pretty cool. I'm going to try that.
Yeah.
Okay. They need to realize that whoever they're watching has probably done this for so long that their tendons are used to that. And having a new person try that, it's like, okay, hey, let's not do that, you know?
Exactly.
And one of the things I was taught when I got into the sport was how not to arm wrestle. And then I figured out where not to be. Then it just made me comfortable as I transitioned to the sport and kind of, you know, did some other stuff. But
yeah,
I was taught how not to arm wrestle first. So
okay, why is that?
Because of the arm breaks that would happen, and the guy who got me into the sport, his name is Darren Wartina, you know, he would tell me, always look at your hand. You can talk to your hand. And I thought he was some kind of weird guy. I'm like, all right, man, just, I don't need any mumbo jumbo. Just tell me what I need to know. And he goes, no, if you can look at your hand, you're fine. But as soon as you start turning away from it,
exactly,
you know, now you're in no man's land.
Yeah.
And above all else, make sure that shoulder is behind that hand, because as soon as that hand goes out here, I start feeling this up here. And that's when you can get to that spiral fracture, because you're going this way and your opponent's going that way. And that's just you know.
Yeah, and your bones aren't used to that kind of twist or torque and stuff like that. We're always told wherever your hand goes, your nose goes. So if you're winning, you go with your hand. If you're losing, you go with your hand.
Right.
So you don't look away from it.
Everybody in chat hear that? Lori said,
wherever your hand goes, your nose goes.
You know, follow that, you know, to stay safe. So you were also a director of the Manitoba Arm Wrestling League, or were you not?
Yeah, I was president of MAWA for 4 years, and then Daryl took over as president, and then I went down to be a director.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, we just, like I said, we ran most of the tournaments in Winnipeg, and I just helped out, and, you know, we stored everything and we packed it up and took it there, unpacked it, set it up. When everything was done, we'd unpack it all, put it in the car and drag it into the house and set it back all up at home. And back when we lived in Winnipeg, we had a gym in our basement, so it was a whole lot easier to just go down there and, you know, do our own training and workouts in between, you know, what we did as a group. So, but now that we've moved to Brandon, we're half the house size that we were in before, and I had to sell a lot of my stuff.
Oh, wow.
I just don't have the room for it here. So
yeah,
we have a few things here that we kept, but yeah, we still have our table and our finger blaster and some of the hand, you know, grip tools and weights. But
what's a finger blaster?
It's that thing that you stand at and hold the bar, and then you.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah.
I got one of those. We call it a plate loader, but yeah, finger blaster. Okay. I got you.
Yeah.
Okay. So you've done it all. I mean, provincial, national, world, Hall of Fame. You've done it all. I think you even have a championship ring at one point. I thought I saw a photo of that. So.
I do, yeah, world championship ring. So I've got one of those. It's tucked away in my jewelry box. I bring it out every once in a while when there's a tournament or something arm wrestling related going on. So
I didn't see that up at Steinbach.
Oh no.
I didn't see the ring.
So
now, if by chance you have a young lady in your area and wanted to get into the sport, you know, and they reached out to you, how would that conversation go? And would you be willing to train that person?
Absolutely. Yeah, I would absolutely do it. I would, you know, usually what they would do is come to my house and I, you know, train her and show her some stuff on the table. Unfortunately, like I said, you know, I've got a few tricks up my sleeves that I could show her, but I never was a real technical puller because I never really had to be.
Right.
But I do have a few tricks up my sleeve that I can show.
Nice.
Anybody, women or men, like anybody who wants to come over and train, I could help them out.
Good, good.
So yeah,
So
here or at our weekly practice, like.
oh, you still got weekly practices now?
Yeah, we still have them in Brandon here, so it's usually every Tuesday night. But
And how many are in your club?
back when I was going before I got my tendonitis back again, there was probably about 6, 7 guys and about 3 women that would show up, but not always at the same time. So, a lot of times when you go there, there's only one woman.
Right.
And then there was a teenage boy that used to go too that I would spend time with and show him stuff on the table.
Well, that's good because at least
before throwing him in there with the men,
No, that's smart. You can
Get
kind
him
of
used to it.
take them under your wing and go, okay, before I release you to the
The
guys over
wolves.
there,
Yeah.
let's go to some basic stuff, and just make sure one, you stay safe,
Yep.
so you're
Yeah,
not
exactly.
you're not in a bad spot because you're going to get hurt regardless because of injury. It's a sore game to
Yeah.
compete it, but we don't want to make sure we maximize that strength or I'm
Yeah.
sorry, that pain. Like ibuprofen is one thing. You're going to be sore, fine. Rub the tendons. That's one thing, but we're talking about any bicep tears or arm breaks or anything like that. And I'm assuming you've never had that, correct?
What? Oh yes, I've had lots of injuries.
What injuries did you have?
Mostly it was tendonitis that I would get, but I was at the Worlds in Italy and on one match against Zana from Latvia.
Mm-hmm.
You probably know her.
Oh yeah.
I blew out my shoulder, my elbow, and my wrist all in one shot.
Ooh, ouch.
Yeah. So that wasn't fun.
How long did that put you out for?
I competed. I still continued to compete the rest of the time, but I was in a lot of pain. And yeah, I didn't even make the after party or anything because I just sat in the room and tried to deal with my pain.
Right.
So.
Wow.
Baths, cold baths, popping all kinds of Tylenol. It was 4 days of pulling, so.
Ice and heat, back
Yeah.
and forth.
Yeah, anti-inflammatories. They even had my athletic therapist or massage therapist on the phone from Winnipeg saying, what can we do? What can we do to help her out? Like.
Right. So what do you think in your mind would help the ladies division in arm wrestling? Canada, United States, or anything, just in general. What do you think? What kind of idea would you think that could help expand the ladies division?
Well, what we did, like when I first started, it was basically just a women's open class.
Mm-hmm.
And then the women that were like, the medium size and the lighter women that were coming to compete, they're up against people like me and Jose. We're not small women by any means.
Right.
It was intimidating for them. And they're like, why would I sign up to compete against that? Like, there's no way I can win anything. So what we did was we started making 2 weight classes. And then we started getting more women coming out because they knew they wouldn't have to deal with us.
Right.
And then it all depended on the women that were available. Like if there was even a lot, we had 3 weight classes at one point in time.
Okay.
For the lighter women, and then the medium women, and then the plus women. So that drew in more people.
Okay.
That drew in more women. We got competing just from doing that. And I find too, a lot of times for the women, they only have right hand only.
Ah, okay.
So I think if they had offered women like right and left hand competing, because for me, my left hand was my money arm. So
yes, another southpaw. Yes.
Another reason why I, didn't go to a lot of tournaments and stuff was because he only offered right hand pulling. I can pull with my right. It's not as good.
Right.
My left hand's my money arm. So yeah, and it wasn't offered for women.
And it is depending on the organization or the promoter. There are some that offer left and right, and for the most part, some are still that. I think some are still only offering 2 classes, and I understand that we can't make everybody happy when it comes to making weight classes. I know even the guys complain about that, but
Yeah.
I know for the ladies, it's always kind of like, okay, where's the starting point? And then we can kind of go this class and then that class. It's always difficult to do that, whether it's, hey, 144 and over and 143 and lower, and just kind of go from there. I like the idea when you add a third class, because then, that person can go, well, you know what? I'm light enough where I can pull this class, but I can go ahead and pull the class above and get more experience. You can also do that also.
Yeah. I was always in the top class, so I never had you can't pull down, but you can always pull up.
Right.
Yeah.
Unless they have, I've seen very few though where they have a ladies overall. So where each person that won their respective classes, then they would be in for the overall, and that's how you get some of the open, then the middleweight and the lightweight kind of go at it. That's if you win your class.
Yeah, that's what we do with our sword tournament. So it's like a champion for the champion of the table, and you win one of those big swords.
Oh, you guys got those?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, I've got a sword downstairs, but that's basically it was all the people who competed and got first place competed for the sword at the end of the tournament.
Nice.
So,
and I know I probably asked you this already, but I know you're retired, but how often do you get out, if you do, to tournaments? Just, oh yeah. Look at that bad boy. That is nice. That is nice. Hey, you should have hubby go in your jewelry box and get that ring out and just go like that. That'd be nice too.
Yeah. It's in a box, Daryl. Yeah.
Daryl. All right. So, and looking back, because in a short time you made a lot of noise. Dominant. And, on the outside you made it look so easy. But, you were grinding, you were practicing with guys. I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think by you practicing with guys, twice a week on the table or whatnot, that made you better,
Yeah.
Because then it felt like, almost, I don't want to say this in the wrong way. It almost felt like a mismatch,
Yeah.
Because now it's like, well, I train with guys all the time, so this is nothing.
Yeah.
Take it down slowly,
Yeah. Which, like I said, makes it so that I didn't have to really be too technical of a puller. But my coach who trained us, Michael Barrett, I don't know if you know him or not, but
the name sounds familiar. I've never met him in person, but I've heard that name before.
We used to do the weight sled pull, and he'd load it up with weights, and then you do it like 3 times. And then the third time, I was like, oh my God, like I could barely do it. It was so hard. And I was like, right to the very end, I said, that was really hard. Like, I don't know how much weight was on there, but he ended up sitting on it with the weights. So I was pulling the weights plus him. He had a couple of the guys screening him so I couldn't see. And he goes, that's how a world champion's made.
Now, was that on a rope?
No, it was a weight sled, and then you stack it with weights, and then
Yeah.
you pull it with a rope towards you, like when you're sitting on the ground. Well, you pulled it both ways, that way and then under.
Yeah.
Yeah, so he used to do that to me all the time. And then when we did like bicep curls on the table, he'd stack it up, and I'd say, I don't know, Mike, like he put more weight on it. I said, I had a hard time with that last time. I don't know if I'll be able to do it. And he'd just say, just shut up and do it. Right. Okay. So I get up there and I do it.
But that's what champions are made. It's like, look, you know what? Sometimes you gotta do, and it's weird because when I used to go to the gym before I started, making a gym in my own garage to train with, you go with the handles and stuff, and then you get all the kind of looks from everybody at the gym, kind of side-eyeing you, going, what is that? What are you working with? And what does that work on? Because it's nothing normal. I guess you could say nothing normal.
Exactly.
And you get those looks, or you're outside and stuff, or maybe at a park, because I've been known to go to a park every now and then, and I got this plate loader, and you can put Olympic weights on there. And it's about yay tall. Put the plates on there, and I'll get a rope, and I have a carabiner, wrap it around, lock it in, and I would sit on my butt and just kind of pull like that. And people look at me like I was some kind of weirdo, and I'm like going, if I explain to you what I'm doing and why I'm doing, you probably still would understand once I got finished explaining that to you. So
yeah, we did. We have a lot of not your normal weight stuff to train with. A lot of it was handmade. Mm-hmm. We pulled trucks. We flipped tires. We did the rope climb, and I'll have to tell you, it's probably the best exercise to do for arm wrestling, and that's one thing I could never, ever, ever do is climb a rope. That's never been able to do it.
I've done it before. It's nothing easy, but I climbed the rope, but I don't think I'm strong enough to do it without having my legs involved. I tried.
Yeah.
And when I pull myself up, I'm not really holding on with my feet until I get to here. Then I pretty much put my foot on the rope to where now I can kind of pull myself up again.
Yeah.
And
I've never been able to do it. And even when I was younger and in sports, in high school and junior high school, they had the peg boards and the rope climbs and everything. And I've never been able to do it. I don't know why.
It's easier when the rope is standing still as opposed to it's swinging, because then it's like I got to bounce. Uh-oh, here we go. Here we go.
Nope.
There's that ring, everyone. See that?
It's got my name on the side. It's got POW in there.
Oh, nice.
And it's got world champion all around the outside.
So what year was that from?
This was I got it made up with the first world championship that I won, and that was 2008.
Gotcha.
So that was the first date. It's got a diamond in the middle and a ruby.
That is nice. And of course, the ruby is red. Your country is red. So that kind of just, that's beautiful,
Yeah. So, and it's got World Arm Wrestling Federation on the side of it too, with my name.
And see, that's cool now. When you go, and like you said, you probably wear it on a special occasion, out to an event or whatnot. You kind of go there, maybe provincials, and you're kind of sitting there kind of doing that. You got that ring there, and you're doing that kind of thing. And that's awesome, because that speaks volumes in a room, because now it's like, oh wow, champion. Let me go, pick her brain. Hey, how you doing? I'm so and so. Have you ever gotten that before when you're wearing the ring?
Yeah, I get a lot of people comment on it or ask me about it and everything else, but it's not anything that you can just order on your own.
Right.
So you have to be eligible, you have to win a Worlds.
Yes.
And I think you have to get the president of for us, it was the president of the Canadian Arm Wrestling Federation has to send a letter to them saying that you are eligible to order a ring, and then they get the details from you. So, I mean, it's not anything that you can just order on your own. You have to qualify for that.
No, and that's the key word, qualify. You can use the word earn, things like that, because that means all that hard work. And, like you look at that ring and kind of go, I remember what it took to win that. Yeah. I remember it. I understand nowadays there's tournaments that offer a lot of money. Cool, but eventually that money will get spent. Stuff like mementos. trophies or plaques, medals, rings, swords, that kind of stuff. I got a lot right behind me on either side. All my awards there, not counting the medals I got in the box over here in the closet. But when you look at that kind of stuff from time to time, 'cause I have to dust it off because it gets dusty up there. So
Yeah.
I dusted it off. I look at it and kind of go, oh yeah, I remember that tournament. So right over here, that cup with the medal from Steinbach, Manitoba is sitting right over there. So
Oh, okay.
yeah, so I got it sitting there, and that was a cool thing. And I remember that night we're sitting up there hanging out, me and Ryan Espy and his wife, and Earl and Sarah Wilson. We're all just kind of hanging out, just chit chatting and stuff. And I remember Jose and her kids showed up, and it was cool meeting them, and it was just an overall fun time. And so the memories is where I'm getting at, come into play. Whereas the cash will probably, at least it'll go. You won't see it no more. But the mementos I like. So.
Well, I came out of retirement after 7 years to go to the Michigan State Championships because I wanted a golden gorilla.
Everybody see, okay, so I'm gonna say this now. There are certain tournaments out there that are known for their awards. So if we look like in the United States, the Midwest, they're known for like swords and hatchets and that kind of stuff. Michigan, everybody wants a gorilla. Everybody wants to say they got a gorilla. They weigh like 10, 12 pounds or something like that. And
no, they're heavy.
Did you ever get one?
I did. I got two. I got a gold and a silver. So try carrying those through customs at the airport. Like they're heavy to carry around, I'll tell you.
And here's the thing. Those are so cool. But I have to ask, if I were to win a sword, there we go. There we go. See that? You got to get your gorilla. Michigan State.
I got my gorilla. Michigan State Championships.
Nice.
I worked with the gentleman from the Congo, and he taught me that gorilla is Sakamutu. So that's his name. Sakamutu.
Sakamutu?
Yeah.
Nice. Did you drive to that event?
We flew.
So explain how you got through security with that. Did you get a bunch of looks or what?
Yeah, and I had them in my carry-on, and I had two of them, and they probably weigh a good 20 pounds each.
Wow. So
I'm walking around with 40 pounds of carry-on, but even, when you're coming home from the Worlds and you're going through security, of course you have it on your carry-on because you don't want it to get lost, number one. Right. Number two, you don't want them to pull your luggage to see, what the heck is this showing up on the scan. So I always took them in my carry-on, and it's like, they'll announce it. Like, look at over here. We have a world arm wrestling champion here. Look at the medals, like when you're going through security. So it's kind of fun. It's kind of cool. So same thing with the gorillas.
Well, I mean, you won the sword in your own, province. But let's just say I can only imagine if I were to travel to Manitoba and I was able to take first place that had a sword, I'd be like, Lori, y'all going to have to mail that to me because there is no way I am on the airline with a big sword. They would have confiscated that thing and I would have never saw it again. So
exactly. And if that happens, we'll do that for you.
Yeah, because there's no way. And I sit there and look at those and go, there's some nice looking awards out there. And I'm like going, man, can you get through customs with that? And if you do, it's like, it's heavy. It's like, okay, I got 40 pounds of this.
Yeah.
Then you got to put it overhead contraptment and stuff. So
especially when you're going through like Toronto airport and you have to carry these things and the lineups are so like it takes you an hour to get through the lineup and you're carrying these things and it's like, oh my God, my arm's going to break.
Especially after competing. Yeah. That's a workout in itself, trying to carry that thing, especially if you get two of them,
Yeah.
Nice. So what other nice awards do you have besides the ring and the gorilla and the sword?
I think I have a Minot State Championship that I won down there.
Okay.
Michigan State, Canadian National Champ, 24 of those. You know, my 7 Worlds ones. Other than that, it's just been like local. One of my other first favorite ones I got, it was almost like a little mini Stanley Cup
Oh,
trophy.
nice.
And I got that down in Fort Randall,
Haha.
just by the, I guess it's South Dakota. So it was Fort Randall Casino. It was when I first started arm wrestling. And I won this big, huge trophy. And that was like, kept me going.
Nice. And I'm lucky, I'm glad that we have the trophies now that are not too tall like back in the day where sometimes those overall trophies are almost taller than the person winning it.
Exactly. Yeah.
Because then you had a probably a better chance of breaking that thing in half because it was so tall.
Yeah.
And then now with the way the rules are with the airplane, hey, well, how do you get it on there? I got this big, I'm sitting in the 3-seat plane. I'm in the middle. I got this big, tall trophy. Sorry, but it's coming with me. So
we'll have to pay for an extra seat to take that home.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
So question from Clifton Erickson. He says, Lori, did you ever hit a Deadwood tournament?
No. And another memorable tournament down in the States was Kansas City at the ROTN. And that was another one when I was just first started competing and, meeting all the legends and everything. John Brzank, I think I met Travis Badgent, Mike Solaris, Alan Fisher.
Oh, yeah.
A whole bunch of
Mr.
those
Intensity.
guys. Yeah. And at that ROTN tournament, and then the after party after that. I don't know if you remember, the show was at Game of Arms.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, where they used to train at that ranch. We went there for an after party. And all those guys
the Ponderosa.
were there. Yeah, the Ponderosa. And it was actually Mike Celieris who spent about an hour on the table with us.
Nice.
Teaching us stuff that night. So that was awesome. Quite the experience.
Oh, speaking of tournaments, did you ever get a chance to compete at the Mike Gould Classic?
I was there once. Yeah. I went there one year and I think I got a first and a second there.
Because those were like really popular tournaments. And now, it's sad that it's gone away. But, I guess the new tournament now that's real big now is the Ottawa Open.
Yeah.
Okay. No, I've never been there.
Yeah. I think they take place in November or something like that. But that's like a big tournament now.
Yeah.
Because what made the Mike Gould Classic special is that everybody came. So it was like, okay. And it was a who's who, and stuff like that. So
yeah, I think I got first place with my left hand and Sarah Wilson beat me I got first place with my left hand and Sarah Wilson beat me right hand that tournament.
There you go.
Yeah.
And Sarah Wilson, and now, there's 3 ladies that just pretty much are at the top of the heap right now in Canada. Sarah Wilson, Jocelyn Brisson, and Heidi Cordner. And those 3 ladies are 1, 2, and 3. You can put them whatever order you want to. And then there's everybody else. And I think recently Jocelyn beat Heidi 3-0. And I believe Sarah is kind of training hard, getting ready for the Ottawa Open. Hopefully at some point those 3 will meet up to see who's the queen of the North, I guess you could say. So
okay. When's the Ottawa tournament?
I think it's in November. I think Sarah told me it's in November. So
okay.
Here's one of our aspiring lady pullers, Lucky. She has her own podcast show. She may reach out to you one of these days, so be prepared for that. Okay. She says, "Hey Jody, hey Lori." So glad you could chime in, Lucky. So you missed some great stuff. So I'm sure you'll rewind this thing and watch it from the beginning. But yeah, Lucky is one of those lady pullers I was explaining to you about as far as new ladies in the sport. It's always good for me to kind of go back and talk to the legends that paved the way for someone like Lucky so they can kind of know their history, that kind of stuff. It's always fun to do something like that. So, yeah, I'm sure at some point you'll be getting a a contact from her to join her podcast show very soon.
Okay, sounds good.
So
Look
there you
forward to
go.
that.
But you know what? I got some other stuff I got to get done going, but I do want to say it was an honor to have you on the show. I'm glad you took time out of the day for me to bug you, ask you some questions and that kind of stuff. Hope I didn't make you feel uncomfortable.
No, not at all.
'Cause
So, like I said, I've been out of it for so long now, and I just appreciate you considering this old warhorse for one of your shows.
like I said, you're arm wrestling royalty. And like I said, I wasn't trying to fanboy. I might have last October last year, but you know, it was awesome, you know, to get you finally meet you in person and stuff. And you know what? Maybe down the road we can do this again if you want to.
Sure, absolutely. Anytime. Just let me know.
Sounds good. Take
Okay.
care of that gorilla. Take care of that sword. Take care of yourself, and we'll talk to you soon.
Okay. Thank you, Jody.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.